The Courting of Dinah Shadd by Rudyard Kipling. Narrated by Robin Nixon. What did the Colonel's lady think? Nobody ever knew. Somebody asked the sergeant's wife, and she told him true. When you get to a man in the case, they're like a row of pins, for the Colonel's lady and Judy O'Grady are sisters under their skins. Barrack Room Ballad. All day I had followed at the heels of a pursuing army engaged on one of the finest battles that ever camp of exercise beheld. 30,000 troops had by the wisdom of the government of India been turned loose over a few thousand square miles of country to practice in peace what they would never attempt in war. Consequently, cavalry charged unshaken infantry at the trot. Infantry captured artillery by frontal attacks delivered in line of quarter columns, and mounted infantry skirmished up to the wheels of an armoured train which carried nothing more deadly than a 25-pounder Armstrong, 2 Nordenfeldts, and a few score volunteers, all cased in 3/8-inch boilerplate. Yet it was a very lifelike camp. Operations did not cease at sundown. Nobody knew the country, and nobody spared man or horse. There was unending cavalry scouting, and almost unending forced work over broken ground. The Army of the South had finally pierced the centre of the Army of the North, and was pouring through the gap hot-foot to capture a city of strategic importance. Its front extended fanwise, the sticks being represented by regiments strung out along the line of route backward to the divisional transport columns, and all the lumber that trails behind an army on the move. On its right, the broken left of the Army of the North was flying in mass, chased by the Southern horse and hammered by the Southern guns, till these had been pushed far beyond the limits of their last support. Then the flying sat down to rest, while the elated commandant of the pursuing force telegraphed that he held all in check and observation. Unluckily, he did not observe that 3 miles to his right flank, a flying column of Northern horse with a detachment of Ghoorkhas and British troops had been pushed round as fast as the failing light allowed, to cut across the entire rear of the Southern army, to break, as it were, all the ribs of the fan where they converged by striking at the transport, reserve ammunition and artillery supplies. Their instructions were to go in, avoiding the few scouts who might not have been drawn off by the pursuit, and create sufficient excitement to impress the Southern army with the wisdom of guarding their own flank and rear before they captured cities. It was a pretty manoeuvre, neatly carried out. Speaking for the 2nd Division of the Southern Army, our first intimation of the attack was at twilight, when the artillery were labouring in deep sand. Most of the escort were trying to help them out, and the main body of the infantry had gone on. A Noah's Ark of elephants, camels, and the mixed menagerie of an Indian transport train bubbled and squealed behind the guns, when there appeared from nowhere, in particular, British infantry, to the extent of 3 companies, who...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?